Douglas down 3 times in that contest, but Douglas eventually won on points. Here's the rematch then, scheduled for 10 3-minute rounds.
Well, the atmosphere is really built up here now for this Scottish Welterweight Championship, and hopefully referee there, Len Mullen, a top international in Scotland at one time, can make these lads keep their cool, as it were, but I think there's a certain amount of needle generating already. So round 1 then, and the right-hand forward southpaw is Jacob, and you had no trouble identifying the red hair then of Gypsy Dave Douglas. He was down 3 times, Douglas, in the first round in their first meeting, and then overcame that to win on points over 10 rounds, and although I didn't see the fight, I understand it was quite a disputed decision. And really, the Plaza Ballroom here is absolutely heaving. The crowd seem to not only know that they're on television for a change, but they want to see this scrap. A real veteran, isn't he, Dave Douglas, at 30. And Jacob's only recently 21. And in the background there, you'll see the fountain that's usually where the last waltz is performed, but you won't see it in this sort of fight. Well, Douglas hasn't backed off at the start here, Jim. He's not shell-shocked at all from the first contest, going down like that, Jim.
Well, Douglas is a very talented boxer. Sometimes his mind isn't quite right. His attitude leaves a little bit to be desired. But when he's on strong and he's meaning business, a very difficult man to beat. I would imagine at this stage in their career, Jacob should be the boy who shows more improvement. But it's been a good start for Douglas. He hasn't taken anything, and he's pinned Jacob once or twice on the end of a nice long right hand.
British Championship is vacant at this weight, to be contested soon by Kirkland Lang and Sylvester Nippy, which you'll be able to see on ITV.
Jacob hasn't put any snap into his punches yet. It just seems to be playing at the moment, but he has a lot more power than he's showing at the beginning of the first round here.
Yeah, he looks very relaxed, Jacob. I'm surprised about that. You'd think he was a veteran or two by the style. Well, as you say, Jim, Douglas looks as though he knows a few of the strokes and could be very difficult to beat, and obviously having won the last one, must fancy his luck for this one. So there's red-haired Douglas, been a pro since 78, and there's the statistics. And had 5 KOs among that lot, as you see. And working there with Willie Connolly in the corner. And here's Jacob then with his statistics. Only the 1 loss. So on record, I suppose, he would have to be the betting favourite. Round 2 of the Scottish Area Welterweight Championship then. And a very kind of, well, almost a casual start, considering the explosive last time. We were talking about atmosphere before the show, Jim, here. I tell you, you really can cut it with a knife. I always enjoyed it in Scotland. You can always rely on its charging from the crowd.
Yeah, well, I knew this fight would get them going. I get the feeling Jacobs hasn't really started yet. I don't know, maybe if the 10 rounds is troubling him. I don't know what's in his mind. But you can't afford to stand off when you're boxing Douglas. Douglas is very smart at long range. He knows how to tie you up inside. You really have to throw punches all the time. I see he's livening his act up a little bit now.
A bit untidy. I think Ned Mullen's already had a word with him about it. He was looking more at Douglas there than the other man. And maybe when they got rid of some of the tension that they obviously looked as though they had at the start, will be a little bit cleaner type of fight. At least I hope so. Minutes to go in the second, and scheduled for 10. Good set of punches there, Jim. Douglas looked as though he was going to drop for a minute then. He was pleased to grab, eh?
Well, that's what Jacobs has to do. He has to put Douglas under pressure. There's no good standing off with single shots. That was a good left hand, and it seemed to shake Douglas a little bit, but his head's cleared again. But that's what Jacobs must be doing.
Well, he's done given Douglas a bit of a favour there, stopping it. He's telling both boxers now that he doesn't want any wrestling. It's a pity, really, that they're spoiling, because they both have a deal of ability, really, and it's just not necessary to do this spoiling. Douglas in and an ABA finalist for Scotland and an international back in the old days. Have a look at this, Jim.
Well, it's a nice little left-hand shot, bang over it goes. But you see, whenever Douglas is in trouble, he knows how to cope with it, grabs hold of the opponent, doesn't let Jacobs follow up. But it was a good left hand, the best punch of the fight so far.
Coming out for the 5th round of the Scottish Area Welterweight Championship. And the sandy-haired Dave Gypsy Douglas has been spoiling it quite a bit for the younger Gary Jacobs. Douglas from Loughborough and Jacobs from Glasgow.
Well, I think Douglas will be quite pleased at the moment, because this is the type of fight that suits him. Jacobs hasn't managed to get close enough to trouble him, and when he does, he grabs hold of him, gets him at long range again, and then pops him with a jab. Jacobs is going to have to come up with something better.
Not the easiest of fights to score, and it's the sole referee, of course, no judges for this one.
It's difficult to score, but you have to remember Jacobs has landed very few clean punches. So although Douglas is doing a lot of spoiling and holding, at least he's landing the odd jab and the odd right hand.
And a headlock too. Well, the crowd didn't like that. The referee was right on top of the action. Oh, it's getting rough head work now, Jim. That's a pity. But at least neither of them have cut anyway, and I hope it doesn't start now.
Jacobs doesn't seem to have the snap that he normally has. He doesn't seem to have his normal strength. Very lethargic looking. I don't know what's wrong with him.
That's his normal weight, isn't it? 10.5 and a bit. Really?
Yeah, I don't think his weight worries that. He just seems to be lacking that little bit of snap. I wonder maybe if he hasn't had the best of sparring, because his timing seems to be out. He's letting Douglas get too close before he gets time to let his punches go. He's having hardly any success at all.
Oh, now it's really turning into half Nelsons and throws. I don't want 2 falls or a submission with a decision here, thank you. Oh, good right hand jab there by Jacob. Well, some fights in, I noticed that Jacobs has been between 10.5 and 10.10. And I don't know, you never can tell whether 10.5 is a bit too tight for him. So it's a break for the boxers and for us, but we'll be right back with the 6th round. And no knockdowns now, in case you've just joined us for the Scottish Area Welterweight Championship. That's the 10 stone 7 division. And the British Championship is currently vacant. And of course given up by Lloyd Hunnigan, who went on, as you know, to win the World Championship. It's been hard work for the referee here, Jim, but he's done as well as he could, really. There we go with another wrestling hold.
It's a pity that so far this fight isn't a patch on the first one.
A little bit of bother there. The apron is quite wide enough there. It's unfortunate that he slipped through. I've seen boxers injured like that on the shins and ankles. See, there's an example where you get a close-up right above our position there of Douglas making sure he doesn't allow Jacobs to punch inside, to work, as they call it in the game. Get the impression that Douglas is quite happy the way this is going, Jim. He's looking just a little bit pleased with himself, isn't he?
Douglas fine, yeah, because Jacobs hasn't surprised him with anything. He's doing the same thing all the way through, just crouching down and trying to move in before he gets the punches off, and he's taking too long to get the punches off, which is allowing Douglas to tie him up and land his own counters. The thing that surprises me most, I expected a lot more vitality from Jacob, a lot more snap in his work, but seems to be missing tonight.
Well, looking here, you can hardly believe that he had Douglas down 3 times in the last contest, Jim, can you?
His timing seems to be off. I'm just wondering, maybe, as I said earlier, maybe his sparring hasn't been what it should have been.
Well, you know, sometimes you think boxers are like machines and they can produce it all the time, but obviously they have their not so good nights.
Jacobs is taking too long to get his punches off, so Douglas is coming right up against him and grabbing hold of him.
Up to the corner now to really get this guy going. They're using the ice pack on the neck. They've got the fans turned on here at the Plaza Ballroom. I wouldn't have thought that it was too hot even in the ring. And certainly hasn't got time to look at the rounds lady going by.
Not one before. Nothing.
When the last 3 days you even have half like that.
Round 7. And certainly Jacobs now has got to start putting on some pressure. He's had all his pro fights in Glasgow, I think, with only 1 loss out of 12. And somewhat nice. I quite understand that he hasn't got the spark that we expected anyway, considering the last contest was apparently so close and disputed. But co-promoter Alex Morrison, working there in Dave Douglas's corner, must be quite pleased with his man showing.
Well, full credit to Douglas with the old head, a bit more experience. He's kept the action the way he wants it to be. He's not get too involved. He's got his long punches off quicker than Jacobs has. I'd imagine up to now he'd be quite happy. Hasn't really set the grass alight, but he's quite happy with the action, I would think.
I thought the soccer commentators were all containing the other side a little bit. Well, he didn't quite contain him there. At least he got through with a southpaw left hand there, Jacob. There's been a little change in pattern in this fight. I wonder whether one or the other might try some kind of different tactic. They haven't seen that yet. And I would have thought that Jacobs was entitled to take a few more chances now throwing that left hand. He's had a bit of success with it. So there you are, all the female advice from the ringside here, but it's always easier said than done from this side of the rope. So you get an example there where Douglas tries to let Jacobs just wear himself out a bit and grab and then just come back with his own flurry or two, but he hasn't really been too successful this round. There's been too many misses. So there's the countdown clock then for the end of this round. And still without knockdowns. And I think they're off. And what do you know about that? I was being rudely interrupted there, but it was only a slip, in fact. So there you are. There is the replay there. And he pulls him aside with it. And Douglas really doing the limpet bit again. And has to be prized apart by the referee. Jim, have a look at this. This is where I think was a slip. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think it was just more of a stumble. The punch come round behind his head, onto the shoulder, just a stumble. Yeah, no problem.
Round 8 of the Scottish Welterweight Championship, and once again referee Mullen reminding the boxers of their responsibilities in a championship fight. Remember that these area championships are considered stepping stones by the Boxing Board of Control when they're nominating challengers for the British title. But on this form, Jim, they'd have to go a bit to beat either Kirkland Lang or Sylvester Nippy.
No, I don't think you or the boys can be thinking about British titles. I mean, this isn't even really looking like a Scottish title fight tonight. It doesn't seem any urgency.
I think they've got caught up with the crowd atmosphere a little bit there, and they're neglecting their skills. I should imagine the referee's shoulders. There he goes again, having to get in there. Must be as tired as either of the boxers. And he's, if he'll forgive me the sound, so he's getting on a bit. Having seen him as a slim amateur. Well, he's just holding blatantly there, Douglas, isn't he?
Yeah, well, Davey has this down to a fine art how to stop the other fellow working. But he's been allowed to do it. Jacobs hasn't managed to come up with anything special tonight, and Douglas has really been dictating the way the fight is going. Although neither of the boys has really had a big round, Douglas has always managed to nullify anything that Jacobs has tried to do.
There was a spell there as Jacobs was really getting up on his toes and sort of shaking himself out as if he wanted to change gear a little bit, but it hasn't happened. Ready for the end of the 8th. This looks as though he's in front. What do you think?
Yeah, well, his corner have just told him he's 6 rounds in front. That's maybe a little bit kind, but considering the fact that Jacobs has had very little success, very few good clean punches, I would have to put Douglas in front himself.
That's a little unfair, Jim. You actually understood that. I'm sorry I didn't get that one. You're ahead of me there. Well, I tell you, the boxers have flagged quite a lot. The crowd haven't. They've really kept it going, haven't they? Should really see a little bit of desperation stakes now, surely, coming from Gary Jacobs. You know, they're trying to work a bit inside now, Jim, at times, aren't they? I don't know why they didn't do this earlier, not at this point, but 10 seconds ago they were. It was a much harder fight. Well, it seems as though the majority of the crowd, I would think, Jim, are with Jacobs, but there's been a few times in this fight when he wishes he were with them. There's still chance of Gary. And certainly the young ladies right behind our position here have done all they can to urge him on. So there it is inside the last half minute of the 9th. push around the ribs there with those right hands coming in there from Douglas. Little friendly tap after the bell. Well, unmarked there, Jacobs, isn't he? But he's got to give it all in the last. Coughing up as we have a final look at Douglas. At least there were no blood spilled. So 10th and final round then of the Scottish Welterweight Championship. And just that little formality of the touching of gloves. I often think that's rather like the way a dentist greets you before he does the pulling out bit. Well, he's bound to have a go in the last, Jacobson, but he still won't get... Douglas knows all the answers now, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, it's time just to throw caution to the wind and just let the big haymakers fly and hope one lands. Even his own corner seemed disappointed with him. So I think it's just time to let the punches go as he moves in. Don't let Douglas get close. They just take chances, just keep throwing punches for 3 minutes. He looks to have enough steam left, although the snap's missing from his work. He doesn't seem to have run out of steam.
Well, it was a disputed one last time, but unless referee Mullen has seen it differently to us, then it shouldn't be this time, should it?
Well, I think I'll only dispute it this time if Jacob gets a verdict, because he hasn't really had what you could say a big round from start to finish. So I'm afraid that if it goes to Jacobs, I'll be very surprised.
I think we may both have to duck as well, don't you? To go then. And there's still the chance, hopeful chance for Gary. And he certainly had a go in this last round. We said at the start, Jim, it's not an easy contest to score nonetheless.
No, not when you think about clean punches landed, but just in the overall work, I have to favour Douglas.
So there it is then. There's been no knockdown in the contest, and if it happened now, the bell would interrupt it anyway. The referee will probably walk away from both of them. That's his habit at the end of the contest, and he waits now. He doesn't want either boxer really coming over to him. He knows what he's got to do here, the referee. He's already totted up after the 9th round. And Jacobs is going to get the verdict. And I must say, Sidlock and I are surprised about that. And there's some jeering in the crowd. But as I said, Len Mullen might have been looking at that in an entirely different light. There was a lot of scrambling going on at the finish. And if it was disputed last time, Jim, it certainly will be this time.
Well, I certainly do like surprises, but I don't like surprises like that. I can't even remember Jacobs really having a good round. His work was short all the way through. When he got close, he was tied up. I don't say it was the best performance of Douglas's career, but at least he landed most of his clean punches. I'm really shocked. I'm not surprised, Reg, I'm shocked. I don't think Jacobs deserved that.
So there he is, Douglas, protesting to the referee, who's put his glasses on now. And so his promoter and manager, Alec Morrison, there. But I'm afraid that won't do them any good. And, well, I think probably understandably, they're a little bit irate there in Douglas's team.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee scores the contest. Jacob, 98.5 points. Douglas, 97.5 points.
Well, he's made him win by 2 rounds in front there, Jacob, so really it's not even close.
The new Scottish welterweight champion,
Scottish welterweight champion.
Jacob.